And
there we go.
We're live.
So it says.
So, dude,
bada bing.
I know we were trying to broadcast that cool interview video about
I'll get it figured out
about Fred the Flea, and I'm stoked about that. However, I've been thinking about something for the last. Well, I've been thinking about it for a while, but really for the last few days while we've been working on, the new funnel that we've been working on, and I really think it would be cool to write a bunch of stuff from Fred's perspective and in Fred's voice.
Yeah, no,
I was thinking, you tell the whole story from like, hi, I'm Fred, blah, blah, blah. He thinks he's really smart and he's like on top of the world and he's doing pretty good and whatever, just the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then I had this idea. I don't know if you'll like it, but the idea was, guess who the guy was that put Fred in the jar? So you're the guy that put Fred in the jar, and you realize that you've been putting yourself in the jar, and you've been putting your friends and family and your loved ones in the jar the same way you put Fred in the jar all this time until you realize it took this flea to help you pull your head out of your ass so you could jump out, right? It seems like it would be a pretty good twist.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm in full agreement. I've thought about similar things because in essence, that's the moral of the story is that we all are in control of putting ourselves in that jar,
right?
And whether the lid is on or off, or whether we choose to let it limit us.
That's right. So let's talk. I mean, hey, so we're talking about being stuck under the glass ceiling with our income, right?
Right.
So we should totally talk about Fred today.
Okay.
Oh, it's 11:11, by the way.
Woot woot!
Make a flea wish.
That was just for sunshine.
So the idea of the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
I recently was talking with a guy, commission-based sales guy, looking to go way bigger with his business and get some leverage. So he's not just limited to one-to-one sales anymore.
Right.
And I asked him how much money he was making before COVID. Good morning, Gene.
Morning.
Hello.
What's up?
And what a beautiful morning it is. How's Florida, Gene?
It's great by me.
It's great up here in Vermont. I'll tell you, it cooled down. I was out working out with the kids this morning. It was 53 degrees. And they were like, oh, it's freezing. I'm like, no, it's not freezing. It's 53 degrees. There's a lot more degrees to drop before it's going to be freezing, and you're going to be running in it. It's great. And
but you're not a slave driver at all.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Torger freaking found another gear today. It was so good because one of his friends is running with him, and his friend has been basically like hiding out, working out all summer and just eating salads. So this kid is just like pure muscle and pushes himself crazy hard. And so like, it's really good. I'm trying to get them not to compete against each other, but inevitably they just compete against each other. So I'm trying to like ride the line between them being supportive and not like putting each other down when somebody kicks the butt of the other of the others or whatever. And so it's interesting balance.
Yeah. Well, a friendly rivalry that inspires both forward is good.
Yeah, but inevitably, when somebody wins, somebody loses, and so it's a hard balance, especially if there's a particular kid that's in not as good shape and a particular kid that's in way better shape and consistently outdoes the others. Coaching.
Then you have to get them to judge according to like their bettering their best, and then who did the best increase over their last.
Right. That would be a good shift. Right now, we do have KPIs, right? Everybody is keeping track of how many push-ups, how many sit-ups, how many burpees, how many leg lifts, and how long we planked for, right? And then each time we run, we try to go further than the previous time.
Right.
But all right. So these are important lessons for business, though, as well, honestly. If you have some basic KPIs that you keep track of every day in your business, you'll also grow financially stronger.
Especially if you add in the accountability layer of reporting them back to a third party of some
having a
sort.
small group of people that's just like meeting. Boom. Actually, dude,
what
about like? I don't really want to do this, but I might. What about like?
Why are you even bringing it up?
Well, it's a good idea. What if we did daily check-ins with our NPod clients and established that, how we were talking about the structure?
Yeah.
And like building not only a structure for learning the stuff, but like building a greater structure in their life, kind of like a schedule routine in their life to help people start doing the things every day that you need to do in order to
build the habits.
Just
like you're doing with 99 days.
Like until your whole body's in shape, something's going to give, right? And so I was like, I've been doing daily check-ins with my team, even if it was at points of only me and my assistant or 35 people, daily check-ins for like well over a decade. And it's so good.
Gene says, please do.
Interesting. So
Gene, that brings up an interesting point. Are you struggling for the same kind of structure and accountability that you had when you were going through the main program?
Dude, this would be so good. This would teach people how to do meetings with their teams when they build them, but how to like build in the right habits and ways of thinking when they're solo.
Right.
We could sell the crap out of that just alone. Imagine the membership.
Well, I mean, that's
program.
the whole, yeah.
Wow. We could skyrocket that thing. All right. So anyway, good idea. See, I told you it was a good idea.
It is.
The glass ceiling.
Yes.
Our income.
Gene says yes, by the way.
Awesome, Gene. Thank you for the enthusiastic support. Imagine. So I was talking to this guy, and his income had basically been $10,000 a month.
Right.
Okay. For 18 years. Now, I don't know if he was or if he wasn't accounting for inflation. Okay. Maybe he meant his income has been the equivalent of $10,000 a month. So his lifestyle has been that $10,000 a month lifestyle for 18 years. But he'd been going at the exact same rate, making about the same amount of money for almost 2 decades.
Right.
How does this happen? Whether you have a job, whether you're a salesperson, whether you work under commission, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a freelancer, how do we get stuck at a certain level of income, either personally, for your personal income, as an employee or as an employee of your business? Because at the end of the day, we're all employees of our own business, right? So how does your income get stuck? I mean, you've been thinking about this for years, right?
Yep.
You've created products around it. You've written books about it. You've done webinars, you've done trainings, you've done workshops, all based on this one idea. So hit me with what you got. How do people get stuck?
Well, for me, it comes down to the difference between a thermometer, confusing a thermometer with a thermostat. And
I like this.
What I mean is that we think that we're trying to go for more. Let's say, we're our thermostat, for example, is set at $10,000 a month.
Our money thermostat. I have a hypnosis session called the money thermostat.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's the set point, right? What people don't realize is that they only think about it in terms of, if it gets too cold, I'm going to kick on and it's going to bring up my income. So like if it falls down to $8,000 a month, that's unacceptable.
Right.
Then I automatically do the things that are necessary. But the other thing that people don't realize is that the air conditioning kicks on also. When you get above too much, where that thermostat is set, then it kicks on and it cools it off and it brings you back down to that level. So when you confuse the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer, what I mean by the thermometer is that we think that we're resetting our thermostat, when in actuality, all a thermometer does is take the temperature of what is right now. So it's like buying a program that gives you that temporary hit or it works really well, right? So you put in all that energy, and all of a sudden you jump to $15,000 a month or $20,000 a month.
And
but
that's
you don't
assuming you implement.
right. But that thermostat is still set at 10,000.
Yeah.
But the thermometer for that 1 month reads 20,000 because you followed the things that made it possible. And hey, Anthony, what's up, man? Anthony's Gene Roberts is in the house. Yep. And so sorry, I'm getting distracted again. So, I mean,
focus.
I think that oftentimes we buy a mechanism where we take education to learn how to increase it, but we don't learn how to set our thermostat higher. Our
expectations of ourselves,
our prosperity consciousness, whatever, our confidence levels, our impact, whatever you want to call it, our beliefs about what we're entitled to, what we can, what we deserve to earn. All of these things are synonymous with the same thing in my book, so you've got to adjust it, because what'll happen is, it's the old, I think it's Henry Ford quote that said, if you pooled all the money in the world and divided it equally among all the people in the world in short order, all that money would find its way back to its original people. And, that's the connection for me with Jim Rohn, which is, if somebody gives you $1 million, best you become a millionaire so you get to keep the money, right? So that's about setting the thermostat at the new level and getting used to doing that and letting it settle there until you get the ability or used to being able to set it at will. And like, you have that ability, Telman. You can set your own thermostat because you're aware of it.
Well, to a certain degree.
Of course.
But I'm not a billionaire.
No, but you haven't actively focused in on setting your thermostat for billionaire.
That's right. Well, so check this out. So first of all, I have some really cool ideas around this, and Gene, I see what you're typing, and we're gonna help you out with that in a moment, because there's something you can do right now to solve that issue. So how do people go about, as a hypnotist and someone who's helped people with a lot of money mindset stuff, I have my own opinions on this, of course. But for you, and where you're coming from what you've observed, from what you've seen, how do people increase their money thermostat? How do they change their money thermostat from their deeply imprinted, unconscious, subconscious expectation of their standard of living and the standard of living with the people that they associate with, included when I say standard of living, I'm saying the amount of money you're making. How do you break free from whatever you are set at? Whether you're set at the same kind of thing that your parents were set at growing up, plus or minus, or whether you're set at something significantly higher or significantly lower, whatever it is. From what you've seen, how do you change that?
Well, I can only talk from my own personal experience, because I went through trying to figure out how to reset this. And for the longest time, since I was 6 years old to the point that I became a millionaire for the first time at 32, I believe, I pursued the $1 million. I pursued the big dollars. I pursued that, and I wanted it. And I would tell everybody how I'm going to have this and do that and blah, 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 blah. But yet I never really ever got beyond a certain point. And when I gave myself permission to fail, that was step number one. Meaning that permission to fail for me was like, I don't give a shit whether I actually, I'm going to say I'm going someplace, I'm going to make a goal, and I'm going to see it through regardless of the outcome. Because I realized that one of the things that was stopping me midstream is that I would get, like 10 feet from the finish line sometimes, and I wouldn't want to cross it because for fear that I didn't win the race, or that, that it wouldn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, or whatever. Right. So then I said, screw it. whatever happens, happens. But what I'm going to consider a win is if I actually cross that finish line, however it looks. And I don't give a shit about outcomes. So permission to fail. Like I can do this and have it still not work. That's okay. And whoa, that was a big relief. The second thing, and it's really kind of goes hand in hand with it, was that I focused in on becoming a thin air thousandaire first, not a thin air millionaire first. And that one of my old mentors, his teachings rang true in my ear. He said, look, he said, if you've never made $1 million a year, you can't imagine it's possible for you.
Yeah.
And you don't believe it's possible for you, regardless of what you're saying on the surface.
Right.
Your music isn't making that so. And then he said, look, what I found is the easiest way for me to do it is double your best year. And that's about as far as you can stretch your believability about the topic on this subject. And so, well, I did it even further back because, up to that point, my best year in business was like $75,000 a year. And I said, well, shit, I've never made money in my own business before. So I'm going to just figure out how I can make an extra $3,000 a month.
Right.
Totally doable, totally believable. Like I could figure this out.
Right.
Combined with permission to fail. Like it's okay if I don't hit that, but that's what I'm shooting for. I'm not trying to make $1 million by Friday.
Right.
And lo and behold, I actually hit that $3,000 a month income level a whole lot faster than I thought I would.
Right.
And so I raised it to, I believe, 5,000. I didn't go too far up too fast, but just doing those little incremental increases and adding zeros to my thinking in a small way and gave myself time to acclimate, time to adjust and feel good and have that set point there. Literally within about a year and a half from that point that I gave myself the first time permission to fail, I was a cash millionaire within 2 years of that date. So it just speeds up.
Right. Well, so, I'll tell you on this. So first of all, Anthony, hello. It is great to see that you're paying attention to a lot of very smart entrepreneurs and rewiring your own mindset. And you said that you've been a student of mine and an NPod client back in the day. So I hope that you built wildly successful NPods and made tons of money. But I would love to hear, what was the biggest thing you got out of it? What was your biggest takeaway from going through that program? Because that program changed my life. I can tell you what, like they really, really helped. I've been using your framework of thinking, Joshua, even though it doesn't really work for me personally, but I've been using your framework of thinking around doubling your best year or doubling your best consistent month, right? So when I'm talking with people about how much money they're making right now in their business, they'll be making $5,000. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a guy just a few days ago who's making $5,000 a month in his agency business, and it had been that way for about 4 years. And I was like, cool. Well, how much money do you want to be making in 90 days in your business? And he's like $93,000 a month. I'm like, all right. Like I can imagine how to do that. Like I've done that many, many, many times in a bunch of different ways. So I'm like, okay, well, I could do the 5, 6, 7 different ways. And then I'm like, well, how much is the most you've ever made consistently in this business? He's like, well, $10,000 a month consistently is the most we've done with it, And actually, no, I'm lying. He said $5,000 a month consistently. So basically, since he started the business 3-4 years ago, he's doing $5,000 a month. So I was like, great. So what how would your life change if you did $10,000 a month? And he just wasn't happy with that, so he upped it to 20. But I was like, can you imagine an agency business where he was doing all the fulfillment and all the sales? Can you imagine if you had an agency business right now and all of a sudden you had a $93,000 month?
Yeah, you'd go nuts.
You would die. You would be crushed under the pressure and the enormity of the work that you would have to do because you're not ready for it.
Right.
And so it was really, really interesting. And it helps people with big dreams create first steps. And that's one of the biggest problems with big dreamers is they dream so big they can't ever get it into those practical first steps in order to get up there. And then small dreamers, they're not thinking big enough, so they keep themselves stuck way lower than they need to be. And so you kind of need to merge those two ways of thinking in order to consistently pop it up.
I agree. And that's why it's as individual as you are. It's as unique as you are personally.
It really is.
And your approach shifts also, just like you shift. You're never staying in the same spot. You're always expanding. You're always changing. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that like I was very comfortable after I became a millionaire for the first time with setting big goals,
right?
And stuff that I knew that I would never reach. Notice the verbiology there that I said I knew I would never reach it, so I didn't. But I still reached farther than I had ever been before, and made and lost millions and without missing a beat. And then at the same time, I've gone completely backwards where you start seeing ghosts, where, I've been wildly successful and I have the memory of being able to create from thin air and do all these things and make millions of dollars just from, making it so, like calling it forth and just being a force of nature. Yet, like being stuck and scared of my own shadow after having all of that. And frankly, sometimes that's worse, right? Because then you're beating up on yourself and you're saying, well, shit, you know better than this. You should be able to do this. And so that doesn't help.
Have you ever,
not empowering.
I'm not a big team sports fan, but have you ever, seen a all-star, baseball player, basketball player, someone always hits the home run, somebody always hits the 3-point shots, and all of a sudden they're done. They can't do anything. Their confidence slips, and regardless of all their success and all their skill.
Yeah, if you're in that slump, you're on that downward spiral. If you don't, do something to shift that, then your confidence goes in the shitter, and then so does everything else. Because your expectations, just like I like Freudian slipped out, like I didn't know, I knew that I'd never make it. Well, that's why I didn't make it, right? And that was an automatic, that was an unconscious, I just spoke it and then caught it.
Gene, this is what I was talking about, Gene. You said pulling the trigger is my stopping point earlier, and I told you we were going to come back to that. Right now's the time we're coming back to that. That type of talk will fuck you up. It will destroy your ability to move forward. You cannot say those things about yourself. Seriously.
And here's the thing, though. If you say it, and then you give yourself permission to notice that you just said it in reverse, like I did. Like the fact that I made the unconscious conscious, it's now no longer driving me. The problem is that that's an automatic reflex, right?
And we all do and say things about ourselves and think things, which happen a million times faster than the saying ones, that are not in our best interest. We all do.
That's what sets the thermostat.
It does.
And that's what controls where it stays set.
So when you were talking about not chasing the money and having that, but building the business, a really cool idea came into my mind. And this is really great for entrepreneurs. So first of all, being an entrepreneur, regardless of what kind of entrepreneur you are, what industries you work within, what mediums you work within, tons of skills are involved. And you're constantly learning and shifting and growing in new ways and learning new things. And as an entrepreneur, right, if you're focused on improving your skills, first of all, good. Okay. Always focus on sharpening your sword. Always focus on improving your skills. But what popped into my mind was, if I was a carpenter, and I had learned at a fairly young age that I wanted to be a great carpenter. I love carpentry. I love fine carpentry. I love working on houses. And first several jobs that I had, I was working for other carpenters and we were building houses. Pretty understandable story. And at some point you're like, I want to take my carpentry to the next level. I want to build a house. But you're like, I want to build $1 million house and then I'm going to sell it. Now you've got something that's very interesting because you didn't say, I want $1 million. Okay. That wasn't what you said. You said, I'm going to create something awesome and then I'm going to sell it and I'm going to make a whole bunch of money. And my goal is $1 million, but I'm going to get the $1 million after I make the thing that's worth $1 million. I'm going to create something great and I'm going to sell it and I'm going to make a ton of money in the process. That's totally different than chasing the cash. And when people are in the chase the cash mode, that's when people go business opportunity to business opportunity, business opportunity, business opportunity, and never can stay the course because you're not focused on improving your skills or creating anything of actual value in the world because you're just chasing the opportunity. And so when you decide on that dream that you want to achieve, whether it's a small achievable dream in the next 3 months, or whether it's something you're going to work over a year or even several years, the point is that when you make the decision to go after that, to create that thing, to build that business, to make that dream a reality, to build a house, whatever, to make that dream a reality, all sorts of little things in your life start changing.
Yep.
You start getting up 15 minutes earlier. You start reading books about the subject. You find yourself listening to podcasts about the subject while you're driving instead of your favorite music. You find yourself
somebody recommend a podcast or a book to you that out of the blue,
because you're focused on creating something that you care about genuinely and deeply, and you're not just chasing the cash. The cash is the byproduct of creating and selling something fucking amazing. That's what the cash comes from. It's a byproduct.
Sure.
It's a byproduct. Byproduct.
Always.
Just like oxygen is the byproduct of beautiful trees and wonderful plants growing all around the world. Money works the same way with us. So let's check in with a few people.
I want to go back to something that Jean said, because she said, yeah, I know that she's doing that. And then she said, yes, I'm working on releasing that. There is no working on it. Just choose to release it. And I know that sounds like a cop out and like, well, how and all of that. But, like my martial art master back in the day used to say, try to take this from my hand. And I would take it from his hand and goes, no, try to take it. And then I finally got it. Like, I can't try to take this. I either take it or I don't. Right. And so the thing that I would acknowledge for you, Jean, is that instead of waiting for Tellman or I to point out the language, that then you say, oh, yeah, I'm working on releasing that the instant you hear yourself say it, and I don't care whether it's instantaneous or whether it's 2 days later and you're going over it in your head and you're remembering it, and you say, acknowledge it to yourself and acknowledge it out loud that you just did that. And you will find that the more that you do that, that's exactly why I acknowledged right as soon as it came out of my mouth, I noticed it, because that time gap for me is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And obviously the goal is that I don't say it, that I don't even think it anymore. But for me, I'm just making it so that, but you saw how quick it was. And I immediately said, shit, I got it. And I corrected myself. And so now that served to empower me and move it forward and embed it so that next time, maybe I'll, as I'm thinking about saying it, I won't even come into my mind. Maybe I'll just immediately move it to another direction. And maybe it'll get to the point where the more that I do this, it doesn't even become a habit of thought that I even consider anymore.
That's right.
Anyway.
And what comes down the road as a result of these types of shifts is you start really focusing in on what you're creating instead of where you suck. Okay.
Yeah.
We all suck.
Good point.
Okay. We all suck. We all have areas that we desperately need to improve in, because people in your life probably point it out to you on a regular basis if you're anything like me. And so and no matter how good you get, no matter how awesome you get, no matter how world-class you get at anything, there'll always be areas where you really need to work on yourself in some area. And so and the same is true just within the context and the environment of your business. And so as you get clear and clear of what you're creating, what you're building, perhaps the first step is, you know what? I want to just replace my current income in 90 days with a new business. Yeah. That's it. That's a totally doable thing for most people a lot of the time, right? If you're willing to do it and you're willing to follow through the steps.
And be okay if you need to adjust that. There is no right or wrong here. The only thing is that what empowers you to move forward?
That's
what
right.
excites you enough but not scares you? Like a little bit of fear, okay. But paralyzing fear is counterproductive because you're not going to execute on the things on a daily basis. So, learn to adjust it and learn what's right for you, and be okay if it's different than what I say or Tellman says, or, screw that. Whatever is right for you is right for you.
That's
but
right.
Don't sell out on yourself either.
Right. Yeah. Don't cop out. Don't be lazy just because it hurts a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You have to judge how far is too far and how far is not far enough because you're copping out.
Yeah.
But only you can decide what that is, because only you know what the energy is, whether for you it is a cop out or for you it is a bridge too far.
I was thinking about the topic of today's call earlier this morning. I was thinking about talking about authenticity a little bit because every single private consultation that I'm doing with people, I'm like, why are we on the phone right now? And people are just like, because I've been paying attention to all these like super fancy, super professional, super hypey, Lamborghini, hair slicked back, like gurus that are all like looking professional, are super polished, and they seem like they're totally full of crap.
And you two assholes.
And you guys seem so genuine and honest that I wanted to talk to you and see if you could help me figure this stuff out. And so that's, a lot of people have been saying this, and I'm so happy about that in so many ways.
And frustrated simultaneously.
Well, yeah, frustrated about different things.
In a good way, yeah. I mean, it led us to the ETG, That's
right. And what's happened is I'm talking to folks, and authenticity, I was thinking about this idea that authenticity comes with age, right? And it's not entirely true, because there are plenty of old, inauthentic people, all right?
Right.
But it's not really about age. It's kind of about experience. And this idea that, I guess, you've been doing this kind of stuff longer than I've been doing it. I've been doing it for 17 years, and I have so many wins, stories that I can tell about where I won and did something and crushed it, and so many stories about where I completely took a digger and got a mouthful of gravel, But I kind of enjoy telling the stories about getting my ass kicked, because they're fun stories when you really hit the ground hard. It's like, and live to tell the tale, like, makes for a good story, right?
Yeah, and frankly, people want to know about the real deal. They don't want to know like this, fake it till you make it shit. That's Carter was in office when that was effective. Carter was the president, and that's my point is that. Okay, just because the guru can do it, and let's say that they're 100% accurate, and that they just, they've got a habitual way of being about it, and they've got the skills that back it up and all of that. So what? What does that say about you?
Right.
About you being able to duplicate that. You've got to, have that.
Here's the problem. The problem is, if you're just starting out and you don't know how to sell well in whatever medium you're trying to sell in, whether it's through email or a sales letter or a webinar or a live stream or this or that, and you don't have the internal confidence that you know how to sell your thing well, and that the stories that you tell are going to really captivate people and they're going to give a crap, it's very hard to come across as authentic while you're trying to piece all these things together. And I
have a story directly about that with me, if you want me to share it. I mean,
I do, but I also want to just bring it back around. What I realized was that when I got started, I've always been a weirdo, right? And sometimes I've made that more obvious, and sometimes less obvious in my online presentation. But when I got started, I had no name recognition, just like everybody else. At the time, I had no beard, and I was clean shaven, so I was like, I looked like a pretty normal dude, and I had a really hard time getting momentum. And what I did was, I started teaming up, and I started often teaming up with people who had a larger list than I did and more visibility. And I basically would do everything I could to assist them in looking good in our team up. And what that meant was my authenticity was by reference. So even though I was a new kid on the block and I was young and I was underconfident in what I could sell and what value I was bringing to the marketplace and how to sell it and blah, 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 how to present myself in a way that was going to work, and I didn't sound like a jackass or a robot or a parrot of somebody else, but that I still could actually successfully sell something. It took a while to figure that out.
Right.
But I ended up partnering with first Nitro for the Nitro marketing mindset. I ended up partnering with Joe Vitale for Think Like Joe Vitale. I ended up partnering with Sean Casey for a product I created called Think Like Sean Casey. I ended up partnering with Alex Mandozian. I took his teleseminar secrets course and I partnered with him, and I launched my first attention deficit disorder product with him well, both of our names were on the product, and he interviewed me for the product. So what I did is I focused on teaming up with people. I'd buy their program, I'd implement it, I'd become a star student, and then I'd team up with them, and then I'd get more name recognition. And I did this for a few years, and it was a great way. So what I'm saying is, if you don't have the internal confidence, team up with somebody that does and follow their lead. That's really what I'm saying. And you will develop that internal confidence as you go. And then you can do team ups with employees or freelancers or percentage partners of your business who can bring the skills to your business that you need to run your business long term, which is a whole nother different type of team up, but really serves the same function.
Cool.
What's your story? What do you got?
Well, before I get into that, let's acknowledge the comments that have been coming in prior to that, so that we don't leave the audience out.
Absolutely. So let's see. Gene says, haha, I got it. Boy, am I authentic. It's true. You've got that covered, Gene. Authentic and prolific, right? Be authentic all the time. Lots of authenticity. And then Anthony says, I had an epiphany this past weekend after Build Your Brand Challenge with Tony, Dean, and Russell. I realized that I've been selling myself short in my abilities to teach something that I know, like building confidence on video or stock investing. Instead, I buy shiny objects, like training here and there, and spend a shit ton of money on thinking I need this and that, but realized that I have it in me to create and sell what I have from my small wins. That's awesome, Anthony. That's a really big realization.
That's
super
huge.
Important. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Anthony, are you, if you could just wave a magic wand, like, what would you sell and who would you sell it to? But what's your best? I'm just curious what your, I know you mentioned confidence as well as stock investing, but like, what would be like, what are you like just deep down? What would be the ideal business for you?
And while he's coming up with that and the delay here, let me share some thoughts about what you just said. Every time I hear you say the word, what do you sell and where are you selling and the closing and all of this, I break out in hives personally. I don't like the idea of selling somebody something. I never have. And I struggled early on in my life with it. And so like every time I hear somebody say, you got to sell them this and you got to close them on this and that, I just go, ugh, because it's just not me. Mm-hmm. And so early on in my entrepreneurial journey, I was, my first exposure to being a true entrepreneur when I finally got some success at it was through network marketing. Mm-hmm. And I went to a workshop, and I was in the small area. I was the shining star. I wasn't the head one, but I was the shining star, and that's where I was making about $75,000 a year, which in network marketing is pretty substantial. Yeah. And it was after I struggled for a whole bunch, and so the person that I was emulating or that I was following, my mentor at the time, had a certain way of doing things, and so I learned his way of doing it. Right. And I went to a training program. Gene knows this gentleman quite well. I later became good friends with him, Randy Gage. And Randy was doing critiques. He was doing hot seat critiques, and I wanted to get critiqued. I wanted to see my presentation, and I, secretly thought I'm a badass. I got this dicked, and everybody else that went before me just did their presentation or did a pared down version. But when it was my turn, I went upstairs, got dressed in my suit, and put on everything, and I took it seriously. And then I went on stage and I did the whole thing, and he listened, and he said. The two things that he said to me were that really landed with me is, number one, that it sounds like you're doing somebody else's presentation. Mm. It wasn't you.
Right. And
I was like, he's right. It wasn't me. And he said, the other thing is that the way that you're doing it, if you bold everything in a sales letter, and you know this because you've started to write copy, he says to me, then you bold nothing.
Right.
And I said, holy shit, you're absolutely right. And then he proceeded to destroy me on my suit and how he said, since you got dressed up, I'm going to critique your outfit. And he said, your break is too low in your pants, and it should be up here, and you should have, this much cuff coming out. I mean, like, he's a fashionista.
Yeah.
So he gave it to me, and it was awesome because it shifted everything. And besides what I learned in the actual training, when I went back to do the next presentation, I became authentically me in front of the presentation. And it got to the point where I was just doing it. Like one time I was like, and I got so excited over something. I was like, and so dig this. And in my head, what I heard was Daddy-O, because it just seemed like it was the right thing to flow. So I'm getting all excited, and I said, so dig this. And I paused for a second, and I looked at the whiteboard as Daddy-O. And everybody that was there just cracked up. And I said, yeah, I don't know what came over me, but I had to say that. And I continued to just be myself. And interestingly enough, what happened from that point forward is I became the most requested trainer and speaker that was selling the program that cross lines. Everybody wanted to attend my presentations versus the head person in the area because of the way that I was doing it. And his audience started to dwindle. And every time I did the presentation, it started to appear there. And for me, it wasn't about selling. It was about just enrolling. Mm-hmm. And I realized that it's not selling for me it's something that I can do extremely well when I know that it's about enrolling somebody in a bigger future that's good for them. And if they don't see it yet, it's my job to explain it to them patiently in a way that they can then step into it and see a new possibility. And they end up closing themselves if you do it right. And they sell themselves. Everybody loves to buy, but they hate to be sold.
That's right.
And that's the difference for me personally.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, everybody has different feelings and opinions on selling and sales. I like asking people that. What I love walking into like a party where there's a bunch of people I don't know. Ideally, most of them aren't entrepreneurs, and introducing myself and asking them what they sell without cracking a smile. And it's great because immediately it's such a polarizing question because people are just like, what's this guy even talking about? It's great. It's a wonder. And it's also a really good way to finding the entrepreneurs in the crowd.
When I first launched NPod, when people said, what do you sell? I would tell them I sell personal development wrapped up in a business development program called NPod.
That's right.
And that's really what it is, because I realized early on in NPod that until you have to have the yin and the yang, right? You have to, until you, like if you don't have the confidence building, if you don't have the skills is one side of it, but the confidence is the other side of it. And if you don't have that both, then none of that will work. And that's what, like, it really puzzled me. Like somebody like you would buy NPod and have phenomenal success. Somebody like me that created it from success. But equally as important is that there were other people that had apparently the same drive, even much, much more intelligent, had, other experiences in life, and yet it didn't work for them. And seemingly they went through it with the same intensity that you went through it, that I would go through something like that at that point in time. And they didn't get the same results. And that, comes back to the success thermostat, or, that set point.
Well, it does come to the set point, but there are some other factors with the set point. By the way, guys, we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. If you're liking what we're talking about, we're doing a training this week on how to break free from the time for money trap. So if your income has been stuck, if it's been plateaued for longer than you like, and you don't know how to break free, or you don't know why you're stuck there, we're going to be going deep on this subject this week. I'm going to pop a link right into the comments here. And
type that all in and put it on the screen and type that long motherfucker in.
Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe could you shorten one up for me? Is that possible?
Yes, I can.
All right, I also give it to you in Messenger here.
I'm not on. Okay. I can describe it
on chat. Whatever. Freaking 1,000,001 ways to send a text. The heck. So yes. Anthony, back to you. So Anthony says, 21-day challenge on confidence on video. I've got interviewed by Voice on America and spoken on various stages and built confidence through going live on Facebook Live. Yes! Now I feel that I have the confidence in public to speak and create a podcast and do something a beginning level podcast training on how I started one. Interesting. So Anthony, so it sounds like you're a confidence expert. Is that true? I would love for you to say yes. Are you a super ninja confidence guy? Is that your deal? And for Anthony and anyone else watching us right now, this brings up a really great opportunity, which is called 99 Days. If you guys aren't already members of 99 Days, 99 Days is a free Facebook group that we started specifically to train you to start doing something to improve your life or business every day for 99 days, to build in one of those habits we're talking about to pop up to the next level. And everybody in 99 days reports on what they do every day in a video, in a Facebook Live video that they share with the group. Most people do a Facebook live stream every day on their topic that they're building a business around as their daily action item. So if you want to get in the habit of driving more traffic, attracting a bigger audience, communicating with your people, being more prolific, you can take the 99-day challenge and do a video every day for 99 days. So Anthony, if you're already doing Facebook Live videos and your topic is confidence, which sounds like it is, then I would really encourage you, if you're up for the challenge, to join the 99 days challenge. So if you want that, type 99 days into the comments and send me a private message, and I will go ahead and give you a, what will I give you? I'll give you an invitation to 99 days if you type 99 days into the comments. We have a ton of people who are now making videos every day in their niche, building their audience, and using this as a way of gaining momentum and understanding about how to really communicate with your audience and start driving traffic. It's a really, really, really good way to go. And so the website you guys can go to is etgtips.com/workshop, ETG ETG stands for
Escape the Grind.
Escape the Grind, etgtips.com/workshop. And we are going to be updating the opt-in page for that to a more fancy page soon. But this is the Zoom link, I believe, right? It just forwards through the Zoom. Great. Please join us at etgtips.com/workshop. We have a training coming up Thursday, and we're going to be talking all about ways to break through the glass ceiling your personal or business income may be stuck under, how that happens, what to do in order to set yourself free, and we're going to be talking in detail about that during this training. If you've been wanting to learn more from Joshua or myself and or work with us, this is something you want to be on. If you want to build your audience and really build a long-term scalable business where you have leverage so that you can escape the grind of your job or escape the grind of the business with the job that you created for yourself, this is the place to go. etgtips.com/workshop. So.
And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but we got something special that we'll be announcing probably either later this week or into next week. But it really is going to, I think, make a tremendous difference in everybody's lives, given what's gone on with the sign of the times, the situations, and the pandemic and whatnot, and that will really allow people to gravitate forward and to that we can support them at whatever level that they want to and need to be supported at, and build their confidence up if they're not yet ready to work at the level and play at the level that we are playing at currently.
That's right. That's right. And you'll get that chance to listen to us talk for a while longer, which, I mean, who doesn't want to hear that, frankly? I mean, really. Bring all your friends. Invite your great aunt.
No,
seriously, it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about, we always do Q&A, and for the people that show up to the trainings, we do our absolute best to customize and cater the training specifically to you, your industry, your background, your experiences, and the individual challenges that you're facing. So this very live, interactive workshop. This is not pre-recorded. We will be interacting and communicating with you for the entire time. So come ready to learn some stuff and have a really great time while you're at it. It should be super fun. Hopefully, we're going to teach you how to break through the glass ceiling that you've been stuck under for way too long. The title of the training is How to Break Free from the Time for Money Trap. It's going to be awesome. You're going to break free.
Several entrepreneurs, most entrepreneurs, even well-paid ones, are unknowingly stuck in the time for money trap, where they're trading their life away for their high incomes.
And in a similar way to how we've talked about some of the different stages that you need to go through in order to increase your income, being stuck in the time for money trap happens at different stages in your business and is inevitable. And so one of the biggest skills is not to completely avoid getting stuck in it, but it's to learn how to get out and notice when you're in it, and then
recognize
get out
it,
when you're in it, right? Because for a lot of people, they're working so hard they don't even notice, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur. I know that you always say, entrepreneurs, you pay yourself last. Often that's the case. And you ask a lot of entrepreneurs how much money they make, and they can't even give you a clear answer because it changes all the time based on how much profit they do or don't make that week, right? And it's a hard thing to answer in that case. And so wouldn't it be nice?
And sometimes they don't even think in terms of profits.
Right.
I've got this campaign and it's doing, gangbusters, and I made, I did $100,000 last week. Okay. How much did you get to keep? How much is in your pocket? How much can you reinvest in making that happen next week? And still survive, and still, if you've got to pay a team. I mean, I'll never forget when I had a payroll of 62 people, and then 30. There were 62 people in the States, and then a team of 31 or 32 people in the Ukraine, actually. And it just was like, you definitely get paid last, if at all, because you're juggling everything. And anyway, those days are far gone for me.
That's right. Awesome. Well, guys, if you enjoyed our training today, you're going to love the upcoming meeting on how to break free from the time for money trap. Again, the website is down below my beard, etgtips.com/workshop. We also pop that into the comments. You should be able to see those on most platforms. And that's about it for now. I think we're going to wrap for the day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for telling us all about all the cool breakthroughs you're having.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Toodles.
See ya.